The scarlet haze over Virexa 9's jagged horizon was beginning to bloom as Kale. Draven secured the final atmospheric condenser on the outskirts of his settlement. 2 decades in the Starguard Corps had sharpened him to sense the slightest shifts in wind currents, the telltale whispers of sandstorms before they struck, and tonight's breeze carried a bite that promised no mercy. He brushed dust and sweat from his weathered face, his cybernetic left arm whirring softly as its servos adjusted to the plummeting temperature. The horizon pulsed with that signature redfall shimmer, beautiful, perilous, and the planet's final caution before the desert devoured the light. Virexa 9 was relentless, but Kale had chosen it after leaving the Starguard Corps 5 years. Earlier, a world harsh, enough to bury memories he wasn't ready to face. A place where his daughters could grow free from the constant shadow of their mother's passing. The automated extractors hummed quietly, harvesting the rare minerals beneath the crimson sands, while the small hydroponic plots flourished stubbornly against the arid soil. It was modest, but it was theirs. "Arya Nira," Kyle called toward the domed habitat, his voice cutting across the wind-swept dunes. "Time to head back inside." No reply came. Frowning, he flicked through his wrist interface. 4/17 local cycle. His daughters had departed 3 hours ago to gather crystalline specimens near the northern ravine for Arya's planetary geology assignment. 10-year-old Arya was capable and cautious, while 7-year-old Nira rarely strayed from her sister's side. Yet Kale felt the familiar tightening in his chest, the ghost of fear that never fully left after losing someone irreplaceable. Grief taught him to see danger everywhere, every shadow, a predator, every delay, a potential tragedy. He knew his caution bordered on obsession, but knowledge and control were never the same battle. He trusted Arya. She had absorbed everything he had taught about surviving on. From interpreting thermal gusts to recognizing the luminescent flora that thrived near subterranean springs. Still, trust could coexist with worry, especially when it came to the only family left in the galaxy that mattered. Kale activated the long-range sensor mounted on his utility belt. A pale blue hologram projected 2 human heat signatures about 3 clicks north, moving steadily back toward the homestead. He exhaled, tension easing. They were fine, just lingering, probably distracted by some strange crystal or desert blossom, knowing Nira's fascination with every oddity in their path. What Kale couldn't detect was a 3rd signature trailing along the narrow ravine. Pulse far hotter than anything human, burning with a strange internal fire. The sensor misread it as background geothermal activity, but it was anything but ordinary. 3 kilometers out, Arya Draven realized her father's lessons about compassion and courage were about to be tested in ways no textbook or desert survival guide had ever prepared her for. She adjusted her grip beneath the arm of the injured stranger, careful not to gape at how the woman's scales shimmered in the dying light, shifting from rose gold to deep violet with each shallow, labored breath. Beside her, Nira struggled to support the stranger's other side. Her small body quivered with effort, but her jaw was set with an unwavering determination, an echo of their father's grit. "Almost there," Arya murmured, though she wasn't sure whether her words were for the injured woman or her sister. "Our shelter is just beyond that ridge." The woman she and Nira were supporting, if she could even be called a woman, was otherworldly. The moment Arya had glimpsed her, her mind screamed impossibility, yet every instinct told her otherwise. Wings tattered and streaked with darkened blood, trailed behind like fallen banners, leaving faintly glowing patterns in the desert sand. Her hair shimmered in silvery bioluminescent strands, matted with what seemed like blood yet gleamed with an iridescence that no human world had ever produced. They had discovered her at the bottom of a jagged canyon, half buried in a crater of crystallized soil, the kind that only formed after a long fall from great height. Every tale their mother had once whispered, the legends of skyborn dragons, enchanted lands, and impossible heroes rushed back to Arya. But this was no bedtime story. The creature's breaths were shallow and ragged. One wing bent unnaturally and deep glowing gashes marked her torso. She was fading fast. "Arya," Nira whispered, voice trembling with both fear and fatigue. "What if father gets angry? We're not supposed to bring strangers here." Arya bit her lip, knowing her sister was right. Their father had drilled into them the rules of survival. Never trust outsiders, Always keep their location hidden, and beware the lawless traders and scavengers that prowled the outer colonies. Yet Arya also remembered his words about duty, about protecting those who could not protect themselves, and about the honor of mercy even when danger lurked nearby. "He won't be angry," Arya said, her voice steadier than she felt. "He'd do the same thing if he were here. I know he would." The creature stirred, eyes the color of molten amber, vertical and slitted, focused briefly on Arya. "Danger," she rasped, her voice a melodic hiss despite the pain. "They follow. Must not involve the young." "We're not leaving you," Arya said firmly, startled by the conviction in her own words. "Nira, remember Father's lessons on field medicine." Nira's fear melted into determination. Despite her youth, she had always absorbed every survival skill their father had taught them, committing it to memory like instinct. She drew the emergency medical kit from her pack, her hands shaking only for a moment before falling into precise, practiced movements. The bleeding, slowing, Nira reported, her voice curiously clinical for a child. "But she's burning, literally. My scanner says 43 degrees C, that would kill a human." Arya studied the scales, the way heat radiated off the creature's body in waves. "She's not human," she said, voice barely above a whisper. The injured being's lips curved into what might have been a faint smile. "Erend," she breathed. "That is my name. I'm Arya. This is my sister Nira. We're going to help you," Arya said gently. Erend's eyes closed, her body going limp. For a heartbeat, Arya feared the worst. But then she saw the subtle rise and fall of her chest. They had to move faster. The trek back to the settlement stretched into what felt like hours. Every few meters, they paused to adjust grips, catch their breath, and steady themselves under the alien's weight. Twin suns painted the sky in molten oranges and violet streaks, while the first crescent of the 3 moons peeked into the darkening heavens. Arya's muscles screamed, her back ached, and she could hear Nira's labored breathing, but neither girl spoke of stopping. Finally, they crested the last dune. Lights glowed warmly from the domed settlement, and Cale Draven was already at the entrance, his frame rigid with barely contained panic. When his eyes landed on them and the being between them, relief morphed almost immediately into confusion and then alarm. In seconds, he closed the distance, every movement precise, honed by years of military training. Without a word, he scooped Erend into his arms, his cybernetic arm automatically adjusting to bear her weight. Cale's eyes widened as they took in her wings, her radiant scales, and the impossible elegance of her form. Then his expression sharpened into cold focus. "Inside now," he ordered, already heading toward the medical bay. Arya prepped the surgical table. "Nira, get the emergency plasma reserves from cold storage." "Father, she's not human," Arya called after him. "Her temperature's dangerously high." "I can't really gauge the rest yet," Cale said, his tone calm but gentle. "We'll figure it out as we go. Right now, she needs help, and that's exactly what we're going to give her." As they rushed into the medical bay, Arya felt a wave of admiration and love for her father. Rules, paranoia, constant vigilance, none of it mattered when someone's life hung in the balance. This was the man who had earned 3 commendations for bravery, who had carried wounded comrades under fire, who had taught his daughters that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but acting despite it. Cale laid Erend on the medical table, and the bay's sensors immediately struggled to process her alien physiology. He bypassed the automated readings, relying on his own trained hands and instincts, precise and deliberate despite the unprecedented challenge before him. The medical bay, upgraded with salvaged military-grade equipment, hummed to life. "Anatomy is different, but workable," he muttered under his breath while cleaning and examining the glowing wounds. 3-chambered heart, dual respiratory system, and these scales. Not just for show, they're natural armor. Nira climbed onto a step platform, passing him instruments with practiced efficiency. Frontier life had taught every family member basic medical procedures. Even a 7-year-old could stabilize burns, fractures, or blood loss. Suddenly, Erend gasped, her eyes snapping open. "The wing must be set. Cannot. Without it." "Cannot what?" Kyle asked softly, already moving to examine the mangled limb. "Cannot return to the sky, cannot be myself," she whispered, pain threading her voice. Cale's hands paused, and for a moment, Arya glimpsed the flicker of recognition. In his eyes, a profound understanding of loss that went beyond physical injury. Then he nodded firmly. "We'll fix it. I've mended more broken bones than I can count." This is just bigger. For the next 3 hours, they worked as a seamless unit. An unusual family forged by necessity. Kale stabilized. The wing using a combination of surgical pins and a carbon fiber brace he improvised. On the spot. Arya monitored Aaron's vitals, learning to read the alien rhythms, adjusting the scanners whenever her heart rate surged or her internal heat spiked. Nira maintained a steady flow of sterile bandages and instruments, hands unwavering, her focus absolute. When Kyle finally stepped back, sweat streaked down his face. Aaron's condition had stabilized. Wounds were cleaned and sealed with synthetic grafts that fused surprisingly well with her living scales. The wing was immobilized and properly aligned, fluids calibrated for her elevated body temperature and unique. Blood chemistry flowed steadily, approximated as best as Kale could manage. She needs rest now, Kyle said, removing his gloves. Arya, Nira, you both did well. More than well. You saved her life by bringing her here. Are we in trouble? Nira asked, her voice small. Kale knelt, pulling both daughters into a reassuring hug. No, sweetheart. You did the right thing. I'm proud of you both. Then his face grew serious. But we have to be careful. Someone or something hurt her. They might come looking. She said she was being followed. Dad, what is she? Arya asked softly. I mean, she looks like one of those creatures Mom used to tell stories about. Kale studied the unconscious form on the table. I don't know exactly, Arya, but she's not from Earth and she's clearly in trouble. For now, that's enough. They moved Aaron to the guest quarters, a room left empty since their arrival on Virexa 9. Kale carried her with surprising tenderness, careful not to disturb the IV lines or the wing brace. As he laid her on the bed, Arya noticed his pause, hand hovering for a heartbeat over the blanket before pulling it up. Such a simple human gesture for a patient so alien. Take turns keeping watch, Kale instructed. If her temperature hits 45 degrees or falls below 40 degrees, wake me immediately. Arya took the first shift, sitting in the hard chair beside the bed with a portable medical scanner in her lap. In the soft glow of the room's bioluminescent panels, Aaron looked even more otherworldly. Her scales pulsed with subtle inner light, shifting in patterns that rippled like oil over water. Her hair fanned across the pillow in liquid silver and violet strands, shimmering faintly with its own gentle luminescence. Arya couldn't take her eyes off her, feeling the weight of the unknown yet marveling at the fragile strength lying in front of her. Even in repose, even weakened and vulnerable, Aaron radiated a beauty that stole Arya's breath. The soft glow of the room's bioluminescent panels traced the contours of her scales, highlighting patterns that shimmered like molten silver under starlight. Around the midpoint of the night cycle, Aaron stirred. Her eyes, golden and liquid, opened slowly, clouded with confusion before settling on Arya. You stayed? She whispered, her voice rough but melodic. Of course, Arya replied gently. How are you feeling? Aaron attempted a weak smile. As if I fell from the heavens, which in a way I suppose I did. What happened to you? For a long moment her gaze drifted, distant and haunted. My people. We are the Dracarians. We have dwelled among the asteroid belts of this system for generations. Mining, trading, keeping mostly to ourselves. But there are those who see our solitude as weakness. Pirates, slavers, they struck our home 3 cycles ago. Arya's hand flew to her mouth. Your family? Scattered. Some escaped, some did not. I pursued one of their vessels and they ambushed me. Their weapons. She gestured feebly at the gashes across her body. I barely survived. My flight systems were damaged. I crashed here. You're safe now, Arya said firmly. Father won't let anyone harm you. Aaron studied her with those impossible eyes. Your father. He is a warrior. I can sense it. The way he moves, the way he measures danger without effort. But these marauders, they are many and cruel. I should leave before my presence brings peril to your home. You can't even stand, Arya pointed out. Besides, Father's faced worse. He's ex-Starguard Special Operations, medals, missions, but he never brags. And your mother? Aaron asked softly. Arya's throat tightened. She passed 3 years ago. Colony fever. The medical supplies arrived too late. She shrugged, a gesture meant to minimize the grief that still throbbed raw. Father brought us here afterward. Said Earth held too many memories. I am sorry, Aaron said. And somehow coming from this strange, Radiant being, the words carried weight. Loss leaves marks unseen by scanners. Arya managed a small smile. Father says scars are proof we survived what tried to break us. Your father sounds wise. And you, young Arya, are wise beyond your years, Erend replied, golden eyes softening. They talked through the long night. Arya learning of Dracarian culture, how they could traverse the void between asteroids without external suits thanks to internal temperature regulation, their ability to endure brief exposure to vacuum, and their complex societal structures. Erend in turn asked about humans, about Earth customs, and about the little family that had saved her. When Nira arrived to take over watch at 0300 local, Arya was reluctant to leave. The following days settled into a rhythm. Erend healed at a startling pace, her metabolism consuming nutrients at rates that would have overwhelmed a human system. Kale adjusted her treatment, fascinated despite himself. At first he maintained professional distance, treating her wounds, fine-tuning medications, discussing recovery clinically, but Arya noticed the subtle softening of his demeanor when Erend expressed gratitude, the way he lingered during checks to ensure her comfort. Nira, for her part, was utterly enthralled. She brought drawings, showed off her rock collection, and talked ceaselessly about her favorite foods and dreams of flight. Erend listened patiently, told stories of navigating asteroid belts with nimble grace, leaving Nira wide-eyed with wonder. By the 5th day, Erend could stand, though her wing remained restrained. She insisted on helping with household chores despite Kale's protests. Her knowledge of machinery impressed him. She repaired the water recycler with practiced efficiency. She even cooked meals from their limited supplies that somehow tasted better than anything they had eaten since leaving Earth. Her presence brought warmth to the habitat that had nothing to do with her elevated body temperature. She's like the mother in those old holovids, Nira whispered one evening, watching Kale and Erend reinforce the storm shields together, the ones where families eat and laugh. Arya wanted to caution her sister not to become attached, that Erend would leave once healed, but seeing Kale relaxed, smiling genuinely for the first time in years, laughing at some joke about human engineering, she couldn't bring herself to speak the warning. That night, as the little family sat together in the warm glow of the habitat, a fragile sense of peace settled over them, a peace Arya knew was rare, almost stolen yet deeply precious. That evening, as they shared a quiet meal, Erend recounted the assault on her settlement. The marauders were led by someone called Varric, a human expelled from the Earth Defense Corps for atrocities during a past conflict, now commanding a coalition of criminals from multiple species. They had been targeting Dracarian colonies for years, capturing individuals to sell to illicit research facilities eager to study Dracarian biology. They see us as nothing more than exotic specimens to be dissected, Erend said bitterly. Kale's prosthetic hand clenched, the servos whining under the sudden pressure. I know of Varric. Marcus Varric. Served under him briefly 15 cycles ago. Brilliant, ruthless, and utterly without conscience. Command should have court-martialed him rather than just discharge him. You knew him? Arya asked, surprised. Not closely, thankfully, but well enough to know that if he's involved, this isn't random piracy. He plans meticulously, prepares thoroughly, and never leaves loose ends. Kale's gaze shifted to Erend. Which means he'll come looking for you. Then I should leave, Erend said immediately, worry threading her voice. I won't bring him to your home. Not with a broken wing and half-healed wounds. You wouldn't last 5 kilometers, Kale countered. If Varric comes, we'll be ready. Father, Arya said carefully, our defense grid is strong, but against a pirate fleet, Kale's smile was tight, uncomfortably knowing. The grid is only what you know about. I've made other preparations. 5 years is a long time to get ready for trouble. Over the next week, as Erend continued her recovery, Kale revealed the full scope of his defenses. Concealed weapon caches, military-grade shield generators scavenged before leaving Earth, automated turrets camouflaged as environmental monitors, and a fortified bunker beneath the habitat, designed to withstand orbital strikes. You built all this? Erend asked, awe softening her voice. I had time. And paranoia, Kale admitted. After your mother passed, after seeing how vulnerable we were out here, I swore I'd never be caught off guard again. Erend placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Fear for those we love is not paranoia. It's wisdom. Their eyes met, and Arya sensed a silent understanding pass between them, something deeper than words. Kale's hand briefly covered Aaron's before he pulled away, clearing his throat. "Tomorrow the wing should be healed enough to remove the cast," he said, adopting a professional tone. "Physical therapy will be necessary to restore full mobility." The next morning, as Kale carefully removed the cast, everyone held their breath. The wing unfurled in slow, majestic arcs, catching the morning light streaming through the habitat windows. Its span stretched nearly 4 meters, the membrane between bones refracting light like liquid prisms. "It works," Aaron breathed, flexing experimentally and wincing slightly. "You fixed what my own people said would never fly again." "I had strong motivation," Kyle replied quietly, then caught himself. "The girls would have never forgiven me if I hadn't tried everything." "But Dad worked through the nights for 3 cycles, Nira interjected, her innocence and honesty impossible to ignore. He said wings like that deserved to soar again. Kale's expression softened, and Aaron's scale shifted to a deeper rose hue, the Dracarian equivalent of a blush. That afternoon, as Aaron practiced gentle wing exercises in the main habitat, the proximity alarm screamed. Kale was at the control console in seconds, his face a mask of grim focus. 3 unidentified ships were closing from the northwest, engines signature-coded to avoid detection. Aaron's wings folded instinctively against her back. "It's him, Varric. I recognize the propulsion pattern." "How soon?" Kale asked. 20 minutes, maybe less." He turned to his daughters. "Drill. Get to the bunker, seal the doors, and stay there until I give the all-clear." "Father, no," Arya protested. "We can help." "This isn't a discussion," Kale said firmly. "You're right," Aaron said, meeting Kale's eyes. "But he is wrong about one thing. I'm not facing this alone." "You're still healing," Kale argued, concern sharpening his voice. "I'm healed enough," she said, wings spreading slightly. For a fleeting moment, Arya saw not the wounded creature they had rescued, but something fierce, untamed, and resolutely powerful. "We stand together, or we all fall," Aaron declared. Kale looked as if he wanted to argue, but knew deep down that she was right. The distant roar of engines grew louder, shaking the walls of the habitat. "Fine," Kyle said finally, his jaw tight. "But the girls go to the bunker." "Father," Nira's small voice rang out, cutting through the tension. "The turrets, they'll need someone to operate them if the automated systems fail." Kyle hesitated, and Arya caught the flicker of doubt. "We know the systems, Dad. We can help from the bunker. It's hardwired into the defense grid." A deafening explosion rocked the settlement, sand erupting in a 50-meter geyser near the main dome. Then a voice crackled over the comms, cold, mocking. "Kale Draven, I know you're in there. You have something that belongs to me. Send out the Dracarian, and I may let you and your girls live." Kale's expression darkened as he activated the comm link. "Marcus Varric. Still hiding behind brute force, I see. Some things never change." A pause, then laughter, sharp, cruel. "Draven, hiding on some backwater colony. How the mighty have fallen. This makes things interesting. You know what I can do, Kale. Don't make me demonstrate it on your family." Aaron placed a hand on Kale's arm. "Let me speak to him." She took the communicator, her voice steady. "Varric, I am errand of the asteroid clans. You destroyed my home, scattered my people. Face me with honor, or are you only brave when attacking the defenseless?" "Honor?" Varric laughed. "Honor doesn't pay the bills, Dracarian. But yes, I enjoy picking off the helpless. That's why I brought 30. Men in enough firepower to turn your little habitat into molten glass. 5 minutes to surrender, or we come in shooting." Kale's calm snapped. "Bunker now." "All of you!" "Father," Arya began. "That's an order, soldier." Kale's voice cut through, hard as steel. Even Aaron stepped back at the authority in his tone. This was no longer Kale the homesteader or the protective father. It was Master Sergeant Kale Draven, decorated veteran of 3 interstellar wars. They ran as the first volleys of fire slammed against the habitat shields. Sparks danced across the protective barriers, but the strain was obvious. Inside the bunker, Arya and Nira raced to the defense console while Aaron planted herself at the reinforced door. "I should be out there," Aaron muttered. "He needs to focus on the fight," Arya said, fingers flying over the controls. "Nira, bring turrets 5 through 8 online. I'll handle 1 through 4. The screen showed Varric's forces advancing on foot now, ships covering the perimeter with concentrated fire. Kale returned precise shots from his pulse rifle, each discharge calculated, each breath controlled. Automated turrets were thinning the ranks. But for every pirate downed, 2 more seemed to step into the breach. "They're flanking from the northern ridge," Nira called. Arya swiveled turret 3, cutting the flanking team with lethal efficiency. But the numbers pressed relentlessly. Aaron stiffened. "No, he's not leading the attack. Varric is holding back, wearing down our defenses. He's planning something." The main screen flickered as Kale fell back under heavy fire, his tactical brilliance evident. But 1 man against dozens was a perilous equation. "I'm going," Aaron said. "You can't," Arya protested. "Your father nearly died for me," Aaron replied sharply. "I won't let that happen again." Her wings spread slightly, scales glowing from deep crimson to blinding white, heating the bunker until the air shimmered. "I tried to hide what I truly am to protect you. But family means no secrets." She placed her hands on the reinforced steel door. It glowed, then melted away like wax. Aaron stepped through, every inch of her body radiating energy that warped the air around her. "Stay here," she commanded, and then she was gone. On the screens, Arya and Nira watched, awestruck. Aaron was no longer the injured stranger they had rescued. She was primal, terrifying, unstoppable. Her wings whipped through the battlefield, updrafts sending attackers tumbling. Superheated breaths carved swaths through armored ranks. Claws extended, glowing like molten steel, cutting through defenses with terrifying precision. Kale saw her approach and, instead of ordering her back, adapted instantly. They moved in perfect synchrony, a deadly duet of human strategy and Dracarian power. Every shot, every strike covered the other's blind spots. The fight had escalated beyond anything they had prepared for. But together, they were a storm the invaders had not anticipated. The battlefield shimmered with chaos, Aaron moving with a grace and ferocity that left Arya breathless. Each sweep of her wings sent foes tumbling. Each strike calculated, yet almost poetic in its deadly rhythm. "Behind you!" Nira shouted, gripping the console as if her voice alone could influence the fight. Kale was already reacting, diving aside as a plasma bolt seared past where he'd been standing seconds before. Aaron's wings swept wide, catching an attacker and flinging him into a jagged rock outcropping, with a force that made Arya flinch. Then Varric appeared, stepping out of the shimmer of his personal cloaking device. Time had scarred him, cybernetic implants glinting under the harsh sunlight, but the arrogance in his stance was unchanged. In his hands, he carried a neural destabilizer, a weapon Kyle had described in hushed warnings as capable of overloading the nervous system. "The legendary Kale Draven," Varric sneered, voice dripping with mockery. "Protecting an alien. Your wife would be proud. Oh wait, she's dead, isn't she? Colony fever. How utterly mundane for a war hero's spouse." Kale's face was stone, but Arya saw the tension in his grip tighten on his rifle. Varric circled them like a predator, scanning the battlefield. "And now you play house with this creature. How the mighty have fallen." "You always did talk too much, Marcus," Kale replied, controlled but simmering with rage. "And you've always had a weakness for lost causes," Varric countered, raising the neural destabilizer. "Drop your weapons, both of you, or I fire on the bunker where I'm guessing your little ones are hiding." Kale's rifle clattered to the ground. Erin's wings sagged, her scales dimming from glowing fire to muted copper. "See, predictable." The great Kale Draven reduced by sentiment, Varric taunted, aiming at Erin. "You've caused me trouble. My clients wanted you alive. Mostly alive will suffice." The weapon whined, a high-pitched shriek. Inside the bunker, Nira grabbed Arya's hand. "We have to do something," she whispered, panic and determination blending in her eyes. Arya's mind raced. The turrets couldn't risk targeting Varric without endangering Kale and Erin. Then she remembered the last resort her father had built into the system. A hidden electromagnetic pulse. "It'll knock out all electronics in a 100-meter radius," she breathed. Nira's eyes widened, including Dad's prosthetic arm. He can function without it, but not Varric's cybernetics. They exchanged a glance, silent agreement passing between them. Nodding, Arya initiated the sequence. The countdown appeared, 5 seconds. Varric continued his monologue, arrogance unshaken. "You know the beauty of neural destabilizers? The body survives, the mind destroyed. She'll be perfect for study." 3 seconds. Kale shifted subtly, catching Erin's eye. Something unspoken passed between them. 2 seconds. "Any last words, Draven?" Varric taunted. One, Kale said, and duck. The EMP wave erupted, invisible but absolute, sweeping across the battlefield like a silent storm. Every electronic device died instantly. Varric's cybernetic enhancements sparked and failed, sending him to his knees in a scream of frustration. His neural destabilizer went dead in his hands. Kale moved instantly. His prosthetic arm hung useless, but his right hand drew the ceramic knife from his boot, a weapon free from technology. 2 steps brought him to Varric, the blade finding the gap in his armor with surgical precision. You destroyed your own defenses, your arm. My daughters are my defense, Kale murmured, and I've still got 2 hands. Varric crumpled, the fight draining from him. Around them, the remaining marauders, seeing their leader fallen and their technology useless, panicked and fled, abandoning their ships to the harsh desert winds. Erin spread her wings and roared, a sound that seemed to shake the very ground. And the retreating pirates scattered faster, fleeing into the wasteland. Kale sank to one knee, exhaustion finally catching him. Erin caught him effortlessly, her arms gentle despite their incredible strength. You magnificent, reckless man, she murmured. I sacrificed a piece of metal, Kyle corrected, leaning slightly into her support. You're worth far more than that, she replied. The bunker doors burst open as Arya and Nira ran to them, throwing themselves against Kale and Erin, tears streaking their faces. We thought you were going to die, Nira sobbed. Pirates? Takes more than that to kill a Draven, Kale said with a weary grin. Kale pulled his daughters close with his one functioning arm, offering a tired grin. Though, I'm going to need some help getting upright. Together, him, Erin, Arya, and Nira, they supported one another as a family, making their way back toward the battered habitat dome. The damage was severe, scorch marks still steaming, hull plates torn open. But it was fixable, and the raiders had left in such a panic that their powerless ships remained scattered across the flats, ripe for salvage. Kale allowed himself a small, deeply satisfied breath. That night, after the worst of the rubble had been cleared, they sat in the still operational common room. Flickering lights cast long shadows across the walls. Erin looked at each human face in turn, her wings tucked close in shame. I brought ruin to your home, she said quietly. I never meant to. Kale's voice softened. You brought a lot more than destruction. Arya watched him struggle with the words, this man who could stare down armored raiders but faltered when speaking from the heart. Finally, he managed, after Mira died, I thought that was it. That the girls and I would just keep breathing. Not live, just endure. When they brought you through that door, something shifted. You changed this house. You changed me. Erin's scales shimmered through hues Arya had never seen before. Deep, aquamarines blending into molten gold. You saved my life, Erin whispered. All of you. And you saved ours, Kale answered. Not from the raiders, from the emptiness we were drowning in. So, does this mean she stays? Nira asked, hope flickering in her voice. Kale and Erin exchanged a long look, an entire conversation held in silence. If she wants to, Kale said gently. There's room here. The girls we need a family, Erin finished softly. I lost mine to violence long ago, but maybe home isn't the place you're born. Maybe it's where you choose to stand and protect, and where others choose to protect you. It's where people fight for you, Arya added. Erin's expression melted into something warm, luminous. She pulled all of them into an embrace, awkward, with Kale's limp prosthetic and her expansive wings, but it felt exactly right. Then I choose here, she said. With all of you. 6 months later, the homestead looked nothing like the wounded shell it once was. The raiders' abandoned ships had been stripped down, their components sold to the Frontier Authority, or repurposed to improve power grids, shields, and the habitat's infrastructure. The dome had grown. A full aerial platform now extended from the roof, built so Erin could take flight without damaging the structure. She had taken over Sky Patrol, her wings casting protective shadows over their land each morning. Kale's new prosthetic arm, crafted from a hybrid of human engineering and Dracarian bioalloy, tech that Erin negotiated from her scattered clan, was an upgrade in every sense. It resisted EMPs, interfaced seamlessly with both species' systems, and as Nira bragged to anyone who would listen, could arm wrestle Erin to a tie. The Dracarian clans, learning that one of their own had been sheltered and defended by humans, reached out with tentative trade offers. Erend became their liaison, and soon the colony thrived in a way no one had ever dared hope. Their home became a gathering point, two species learning to trust across shared meals, laughter, and work. But above all, it became a true home. Arya stood on the upper observation deck, watching the twin suns sink beyond the dunes. Down by the moisture farm, Kale and Erend worked side by side, installing new condensers. Even from a distance, Arya saw the easy closeness between them, the casual touches, the quiet sharing of tools, the laughter that rose above the hum of machinery. They hadn't announced anything officially, but the entire colony already talked about Kale Draven and the winged woman who had stolen his heart. Nira bounded up beside her, clutching a drawing, all four of them standing together against a painted sunset. It was simple, childish, and beautiful. It carried a truth deeper than words. "Do you think Mom would be happy?" Nira asked. Arya thought of their mothers. Smile, her belief that love was always worth protecting. Her final words urging them to look after each other and to let joy find them again someday. "I think she'd be thrilled," Arya said softly. "She always said Dad had too much love in him to waste it on loneliness." "Aaron makes him smile," Nira murmured. "The real kind. Not the one he used to fake." "She makes all of us smile," Arya agreed. A warm shadow fell over them. They turned. Aaron stood there, having approached with the same silent grace that still startled them. "Your father wants to know if your assignments are done," she said, tone-teasing rather than stern. "They're finished," Arya replied. Then after a breath, "Erend, can I ask you something?" "Always," she said. "Are you happy here? Truly happy? You could return to your people now. They've rebuilt. They'd welcome you." Erend knelt, lowering herself to their eye level, wings folding gently behind her. Her amber eyes glimmered with a warmth that had taken months to cultivate, yet now felt as natural as breathing. "My people have a saying," she whispered, voice soft as a breeze. "Home is where your wings rest without worry. Mine have never rested so peacefully as they do here. With you, with your father. You are my people now, my family if you'll let me stay." Nira leapt forward, wrapping herself around Erend in a hug that seemed to promise forever and always. Arya joined immediately, letting herself be enveloped by that otherworldly heat radiating from Erend. It was not human warmth, but no less comforting, no less real. Kale appeared in the doorway, dust from the day's work clinging to his hair, but that genuine, open smile lighting his face that had become so common now. "What's happening here? A secret meeting without me?" he asked. "Family hug," Nira corrected, tugging him into the embrace with unrelenting enthusiasm. As all four stood together, Arya couldn't help but think how odd their family might seem to an outsider. A battle-hardened war veteran with a hybrid prosthetic arm, two human girls capable of manning defense turrets and stabilizing alien physiology, and a winged, golden-scaled being capable of soaring to the stars, but choosing to remain on the ground, here with them. But appearances no longer mattered. What mattered was the bond forged in peril and preserved in peace. What mattered was the conscious choice to stand together, again and again in both monumental and ordinary moments. A soft chime rang from the comm console. Kyle reluctantly broke the embrace to answer it. A voice from the colonial administrator requested another diplomatic meeting between humans and the Dracarian clans next week. "Tell them yes," Erend said, her wings curling protectively around the girls. "But Arya's birthday is in 3 days. Any meetings will have to wait." "Birthday?" Nira squealed. "A real party?" "Yes," Erend confirmed with a grin. "Cake, games, all your friends from the colony school. A human celebration I've been researching thoroughly." Kale laughed, fingers flying across the console. "Our diplomatic advisor notes that cultural priorities must take precedence. Birthday first, negotiations second." Arya leaned against the railing, watching her unusual family with profound contentment. "I used to wish things could go back to how they were before Mom. Before everything, but now, I wouldn't change a single thing." "Change is growth," Erend said, one wing extending over them like a protective canopy. "And we've all grown so much." Kale finished his response to the administrator and returned to them. "So birthday party planning," he said. "Erend, a warning. Arya has very specific opinions about cake flavors." "Chocolate," Arya declared, her little hands already tracing imaginary frosting stars in the air. "I might know a way to improve that," Erend replied, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Dragonfire and sugar can be very creative together. As they moved toward the kitchen, chattering excitedly about decorations, games, and frosting experiments, Arya took a final glance out at the desert, the endless sands where they had found Erend, the place where everything had changed. Her father had been wrong months ago. Erend hadn't simply altered their lives. They had changed each other, transforming broken pasts into something vibrant, something alive. Outside, the twin suns had vanished below the horizon, leaving the three moons to rise and drape their silver glow across the desert. But inside the habitat, warmth and light pulsed with laughter, the sound of a family reunited, of bonds chosen and cherished against all odds. Arya joined them, adding her own voice to the joyful chaos. The desert winds whispered past the habitat, but they no longer carried loneliness. They seemed to dance too, celebrating a home that had become a beacon of hope in the vast emptiness of space. Here was proof that family transcended blood, species, or tradition. Family was about standing together when the universe tried to tear you apart, about opening your door to a wounded stranger and realizing they were the missing piece you never knew you needed, about two small girls brave enough to carry a Dracarian woman home and a lonely father brave enough to let her stay. And sometimes, just sometimes, it was about dragonfire birthday cakes, laughter that echoed through alien deserts, and a love that dared to bloom anywhere, even in the most impossible of places.